The average person would need to work full-time for over 1,000,000 years and they still wouldn't be as wealthy as Elon Musk as of mid-2020. The notorious Tesla and SpaceX entrepreneur is now the fifth richest person on the planet. It's been a wild ride climbing to those heights from living on just $1 a day. Musk now earns more than the revenue of entire countries. So how does a man with infinitely deep pockets spend his hard-earned cash? Sure, he's got a pimpin' real estate portfolio and a car collection to make any motorhead jealous. But as you're about to see, Elon keeps his spending very much in check. You're Elon Musk. For a man whose name is synonymous with Tesla, you would expect Elon Musk to steer clear of any competing car companies. You'd also assume that he would blatantly refuse to drive any traditional gas guzzler, right? Well, surprisingly that is not quite the case. The billionaire might not splurge on yachts, private islands or wild parties, but he can't turn down an exceptional four-wheeler, especially if they can drive underwater. Oh, don't worry, we'll circle back to that one. Musk bought his first car, a second-hand 1978 BMW 320i for just $1,400 in 1994. And his wheels have only gotten more impressive since, when he's not trying to make the world a better place or sending out cryptic tweets or naming his child this, he's showing off his mouth-watering car collection sitting in his garage. You will find a classic Ford Model T. The first attempt at a mass-produced car, which amazingly sold for just $850 back in 1920, still classic. Yet far more modern is his E-Type Jaguar Roadster from 1967, which can sell for over $100K. Throw in a 1997 McLaren F1 worth over $800,000, as well as a 2006 Hammond BMW M5, a 2010 Audi Q7 and a 2012 Porsche 911 Turbo. And it's clear that this trailblazer doesn't mess around. When asked which car he drives the most, Musk admitted it was his Tesla Model S, which would cost the typical consumer upwards of $85,000. Of course, when you own the company, a couple of lucrative discounts kick in. Then there's the Cybertruck, Musk's Robocop-style futuristic pickup, which will cost upwards of $39,000. Rewind about a decade. And Elon sat behind the wheel of Tesla's first electric car, the Roadster. This sleek piece of automated art was actually based on the chassis of a Lotus Elise, which, yep, you guessed it, Elon Musk owns, too, but not just any Lotus Elise, a customized amphibious prop car from a James Bond film dubbed Wet Nelly. The prop vehicle cost $100,000 to build and nearly $920,000 to buy, ever since Musk saw it transform into a submarine in The Spy Who Loved Me. He wanted one for himself, and when you're a billionaire, it's pretty easy to get what you want. Alright, that is a heck of a lot of cars, but fortunately the tech entrepreneur has no shortage of storage space. Elon's real estate portfolio is truly something to marvel at, tallying close to $100 million in total value. Shall we take a look? Despite taking a pledge to sell off all of his homes, with 7 of his houses then officially put up for sale, that doesn't mean that we aren't going to take an exclusive tour of his stunning mansions. Musk bought his first piece of Bel Air real estate in late 2012, sitting right here at 10911 Chalon Road. It's set him back a whopping $17 million, and you can bet your bottom dollar that it comes jam-packed with all the bells and whistles money can buy. The colonial-style, 7-bedroom, 9-bathroom Bel Air pod features a dedicated kids' wing, 2-story library of theater-to-room guest suite, a tennis court, a colossal wine cellar, a pool, a gym and a much-needed 5-car garage. Clearly a fan of the area, Musk snapped up another 2 houses on the same street, including one for $6.75 million in October of 2013, which he ended up using as a private school for his kids. A couple years later, he coughed up $20 million for another ranch-style house and $24.25 million in 2016 for a 9,309-square-foot mansion. Those weren't holiday homes or beachside getaways. They sat on the adjacent street in Bel Air. Throw another 2 reported mansions in the Los Angeles area onto that list, and we start to see a clear pattern, considering that the Tesla factory is located further north in Fremont, California. Elon does need somewhere to sleep when he's up to his eyeballs and work. And while he has admitted to sleeping on the floor of the factory's conference room, he does hold the keys to a nearby house, or more like a nearby palace, in typical billionaire fashion. In 2017, Elon went out and bought a 100-year-old 16,000-square-foot, Mediterranean-style mansion in the ritzy San Francisco Bay Area suburb of Hillsborough. How much are we talking here? A slight $23.4 million. billion. That's an astounding real estate portfolio, and it doesn't even include the famous temporary boomerang-shaped house in Brentwood, classic cars, amphibious roadsters and $100 million worth of houses. That's as impressive a list as any. But getting to this point of ludicrous spending wasn't easy. Let's rewind. How exactly did Elon Musk go from living on $1 a day when he moved to Canada to establishing himself as one of the world's most influential and wealthy business people? His remarkable rise to the top started decades ago. Before he amassed a $75 billion net worth, Musk was hammering out successful projects as a teenager back in South Africa. By the time he was 12, he already coded, built and sold a video game called Blaster, raking in $500. His entrepreneurial spirit was always evident at Queen's University in Canada. Musk quickly picked up a side hustle selling computer parts and custom-built pieces. After moving to the University of Pennsylvania, he then turned his house into a speakeasy on the weekends, charging $5 at the door, which covered his tuition costs. A brief stint at Stanford capped off his studies. However, ironically, Elon has since overtly declared that college is, quote, basically for fun and not for learning. 1995. After leaving college behind, he and his brother founded Zip, to essentially an online version of the Yellow Pages. They started it with $28,000 in startup cash from their father and sold it 4 years later for a whopping $22 million from their Elon's wealth. Exponentially grew. The Zip to money was used to create X.com, which soon merged with PayPal, shoveling another $180 million into his piggy bank. Although it wasn't always smooth sailing for the tech mogul, in late 2008, Musk divorced his first wife and it nearly bankrupted him. He ran out of cash a year later and was forced to live off loans from friends in order to keep his companies afloat. Then came the game-changing moment. The moment after which Elon Musk's bank balance would skyrocket when Tesla debuted on the stock market in 2010. Elon Musk, Tesla. Elon Musk. Yeah, wow. However, Tesla was initially formed much earlier, back in 2003. It took the electric auto manufacturer 5 years to really make a statement in the industry, and that bold statement came in the form of the release of the Tesla Roadster in the same year that Elon officially became CEO and product architect. With the company now thrust into the spotlight, Tesla managed to raise $226 million when it went public in 2010. Ever since, Musk has been funneling hundreds of millions of dollars back into the company, as well as sacrificing his annual salaries through Tesla. Elon bought SolarCity for $2.6 billion worth of stock. He's continued to spearhead the growing brand with the hope to not only revolutionize the automotive industry but to initiate a global movement away from polluting machinery. Tesla might be the most famous must-run company these days, but it's far from the only one. SpaceX, which is recently floating around the $44 billion value, has been making headlines for almost 2 decades, perhaps none more impressive than being the first private company to send a spacecraft to the International Space Station. Back in 2014, Elon quietly opened his own school called Ad Astra, a progressive essential learning institution for the children of SpaceX employees. Elon waived all the tuition fees and paid to bring over his kid's old teacher as well. The way of learning is far more hands-on and instructs the students to solve real-world problems, which has been so well received that a universally accessible online school, Astronova, has sprouted as a result. Experimenting with AI certainly beats memorizing a boring textbook, that's for sure. Speaking of boring, there's one more company we've yet to mention, the Boring Company. Elon has raised and invested hundreds of millions of dollars for this tunneling and transportation startup since back in 2016. Where did the idea come from? It was simple. He wanted a way to bypass the horrid Los Angeles traffic over the last 2.5 decades if he hasn't been spending his money creating his own, cause he's been investing into those of others. In 1998, Musk started his investing journey with Everdream Corporation, which was eventually sold to Dell. Thereafter, he funded a small satellite company called Surrey Satellite Technology, a question-and-answer site called Mahalo.com. The online payment company Stripe, multiple brands including OpenAI and DeepMind Technologies, and a DNA sequencing company, Halcyon Molecular Incorporated, which turned out to be a failure. All up, the groundbreaking entrepreneur would have controlled hundreds of millions, potentially billions, into the emerging world of technology. Fortunately, not all of his money goes towards profit-seeking companies when he's not compulsively working on his life goal of colonizing Mars. The Tesla CEO is making humble philanthropist donations. Much of these have been through his own so-called Musk Foundation, to which he has personally donated over $257 million so far in 2015. He also donated $10 million to the Future of Life Institute, and there's plenty more where that came from. Elon has followed in the generous shoes of Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, having signed a giving pledge, meaning that most of his fortune will be left to charity, while most famous celebrities spend half of their time on vacation cruising around on yachts, soaking in the sun and gloating about it on social media. Elon is actually somewhat of a contrarian. He did buy a yacht called Mr. Steven, but that was solely for SpaceX purchases. He regularly works between 80 and 90 hours a week without any time for travel. Back in 2015, he admitted he'd only taken about 2 weeks off since founding SpaceX about 12 years earlier. Can you imagine not taking a vacation for over a decade? Just because he's not hitting up the Bahamas every Sunday doesn't mean that he isn't regularly flying through the skies, because he is, and he's doing so in sublime luxury. Musk owns 2 private planes, the more expensive of the pair being the $70 million 2015 Gulfstream G650. In 2017 alone, he flew more than 150,000 miles until teleportation is available, according to his Tesla employees. It's the best way for him to get around. Now, cast your eye toward the Aero L-39 Albatross, Musk's other plane, the same one that Russian military pilots used as trainers for flying fighter jets. The price for a good second-hand L-39 starts at around $250,000. But when you're as rich as Elon Musk, who has spent tens of billions across his career, that doesn't even make a dent. If you were Elon Musk for a day, what's the first thing you do? Let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to The Best Luxury, and have a great day. We'll